Hey everyone, this is Wei and welcome back. Let's do a couple of examples on how you can draw straight hair. And the first one is going to be long straight hair, and then the second one is going to be a shorter cut. So let's get started and I'll talk about the process along the way. Alright, let's draw some straight hair. Now for this first one, it's going to be her hair is like really long and straight. So I'll show you how you can do something like this. I'm just going to rough in her face right here. So let's say this is her eye. Alright, so that's her slant of the face. So the first thing with the hair, what you want to do is just kind of identify the major flow. Right, so like what I'm seeing is basically you have one clump here coming across from her face. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw that in. And then there's another clump here, right, coming down from her face. It looks like this part is, kind of turning a little bit, so it's a little bit, there's a little spin to it, almost like a twist. And then there's one major clump on the back, and it's coming forward, so it goes over. All right, so it's very lightly. I'm just kind of sketching it real lightly, and then here's the face. And then now on the other side, there's make sure everything's in frame. All right, so it's gonna come straight down. Okay, now here's the tricky part. Let me draw her neck real quick. Just say that's her neck right there. You see this little triangle in here? This little triangle that's dark. Okay, well that's if you look at it carefully, that's because there's a strand right here that it starts from here, goes here, and then it kind of goes back a little bit. And then this is on the back, and then there's another clump that's coming from the back, coming up to the forward, coming up front over her breast. So there's three clumps right here. There's this one, and there's one in the back, and then there's this one coming up forward. So that's how I was reading it. And so once we have this, we can start shading. And it's actually quite simple. So let me just do it real quick. So I'm using a 4B mechanical pencil. So very typical. All right. So if you look at her hair, her highlight is right around here because the light is almost like straight on. So this part right here, you can see it's darker. So I'm gonna start shading this part. And if you look at the motion of my hand, it's just I'm kind of flickering a little bit, so it gets a nice you get kind of a nice taper edge as I lift off the paper. Okay, so this is darker. All right, so you get like a nice highlight right around here. So I'm gonna try to keep by having the paper. And then as it comes down here, let's see, it goes over here, it becomes a little bit darker, right? Okay, and then so this is gonna be, here we have the first clump already. And I know there's a lot of smaller strands that's happening in there, but I'm not doing that yet because you kind of want to concentrate on the big stuff first. So here, this part right here kind of tucks behind, right? So I'm just gonna artificially make it slightly darker, and the reference is like that too, and I'm just kind of exaggerate a little bit because this will help to push this whole chunk of hair back. And then let's see, there's more, it's a little bit darker back here. Okay, now I'm seeing a little bit more variations, right? So I'm gonna make that dark. Now here, let's see, as it's coming out, it's a little bit brighter, but it's behind this, so I'm just gonna make this part a little bit darker too. Kind of like that. And then it gets darker down here. So I'm trying to leave, right, so now you feel like there's another clump coming over, okay? I'm gonna make this a little bit darker. Okay, there's that clump. And then there's shadowing down here. So you're gonna have to make this part dark, just right underneath. And I'm gonna try to do it in this direction too, because that's kind of how it is in the reference, right? Because there's hair down here, so as the shadow catches onto the hair, you will get this kind of directional lines. Okay, so I'm drawing the hair and kind of shading the shadow at the same time. So I'm gonna fill that in. All right, so now it feels like there's some shadowing going on. Now this part here, this is the back, so I'll make it a little bit darker. And it comes out of shadow, right? And this is kind of bright, so I'm gonna leave the paper. Okay, so now here, as I go down, you see this right here is brighter right here, right? Because the highlight's hitting it, it's bouncing up. And as it gets down here, it gets a little bit darker. So I'm gonna shade that a little bit darker. And it goes over her breast right here, and it's kind of actually looks like the lighting kind of fades off, so it goes away. Okay, so we can do just make it dark like this. And then this part here comes over. Okay, so now you have this big clump and you have this big clump. Now let's go over to the other side before I touch up this area a little bit more. Let's finish up this side. So right here is darker, so I'm going to do this. Okay, and then right across her face, I know it's not that accurate, but it's her, let's just say her face is right there. Okay, it gets really dark because now this part goes around, right? It's wrapping around her face. Okay, so I'm gonna make that dark, and then in here it's really dark. All right, and see this edge right here is really important because it brings out her face, but we're not drawing her face, so let's just keep going. But it is dark. Now here's the tricky part. So this part goes in, so this becomes darker right here. Okay, because it's coming back. There's a highlight right around here. So this part I need to make a little bit darker because we need to have distinction between all these parts. Okay, and then the hair on the back, this is darker here, this is tucked in, and as it's coming out, it becomes brighter. Okay. Again, I'm using a 4B. If I use a 6B, I can probably do this a little bit faster because I can make it a little bit darker faster. Okay, so it's like one clump here, another clump on the back, and then one clump coming forward. All right, so now let's say we're gonna push in a little bit more detail. So I'm gonna go in, and now I can draw in the smaller details, and this can actually will bring out the hair a lot more. So let's say I can actually go through. See, I can go through like this, kind of like that. You know, make it look like, you know, it's like an open area or some kind of gap in the hair, which is kind of what you see in the reference too. So this becomes darker. This is darker. Okay, the top. See, now as I make, see, this is the part where, you know, the hair start to come alive because now you're putting on these little subtleties, and now we're seeing it really brings, you know, earlier what we did was just kind of the base, right, identifying the major flow, and now we're actually drawing in the little detail to kind of solidify the hair. Okay, so this upper part right here is getting there, right, and we can even do a little bit more. I don't want to go too crazy because, you know, that's not the point. So you see the size I'm drawing at. If you draw it bigger, it will be a lot harder. It's just the way it is because you have to do so much more of these strands. Okay, so this is dark here, and then here. Okay, now we can put in some small detail. Now right here is important. If we do just a few, that'll really help to bring out this strand in the front. And you do need that kind of variation in the, like right here, there's a little strand coming this way, so this is darker. And I know I'm not doing her face. Okay, let's do her face a little bit right here, because it is important to bring out this section of the hair. So if I do, her face is in here dark, which it is, You see the shadowing of a hair. That might be a little bit creepy. I'm not gonna draw the eyes. So you see how this part, this whole front part right here, this whole strand is just popped out, right? Because this is black because it's coming over and it covers her face and it covers her hair like that a little bit of shadowing. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit more here, right here. Okay, and then we're gonna go straight down. Now this is darker, so I'm gonna hit this area pretty hard. I'm gonna turn my pencil, get a nice hard edge. Okay, that'll give it some shadowing. And then I'm gonna, just a little detail as I see it on the reference. Okay, so this part is darker. This part is darker, it's coming up. So another thing with hair is just be aware of the color too, because a lot of times the hair are dyed, so you have different colors, and you have to recognize that it's a color and not necessarily the shading or the shadow, because that is important. Because if you shade it according to color, you might get it wrong, because you get certain areas dark and light and it doesn't really make sense. But it looks great in color, right? But we're drawing in black and white, so. Okay, so let's see, how's the hair looking? Okay, I mean, it's getting there, right? You can see. So, I was actually pretty careful with drawing the hair. I mean, I think if you see my other portrait drawings, I'm actually pretty rough with the hair, just because I don't particularly like drawing hair. It's not a lot of fun to me. I know it looks great, if you spend a lot of time on it and make it realistic, that could speak for itself. But for me, I'm not too crazy about it, so I tend to get a little bit lazy when it's too much repetition. All right, so now you got a nice flow to the hair, and that's how you draw some, like a nice long hair like this. If I wanted to, I can go in with a 6B. Let's say I'll go in with a 6B. And kind of just darken up some of the areas a little bit more. Okay, and that'll give it a little bit more punch, a little bit more range. So with the hair, basically what you want to do is, the steps are identify the major shapes, the major flow, and identify those sections, right? This going this way, this coming back out here, this goes down, and then once you have that, then you can start shading it like this, and try to shade in the same direction of the hair, because it really helps, because then you're using the pencil strokes as almost like individual hair. So you kind of have to do that. I mean, you really don't want to crosshatch in this case, just because it might look like really messy hair at that point. All right, so this would be very straight hair drawing demonstration. All right, let's continue on and let's do another example. And this time I'm going to do straight hair but shorter, so I can kind of show you the difference. I mean, it's almost the same as the long hair, but when it's shorter, we need to play around with the strokes a little bit. So, all right, let's just say this is her face. I know it's not accurate, but let's just go with this. Okay, and then so first thing we want to do is identify the shape and the flow. And in this case, let's see, if we go from the top, let's see, there's some bangs right here, right? It's gonna come down straight like this. All right, and then this one clump that I'm seeing, it's kind of like here, right over her eyes right here. So there's one clump, right? And then let's see, and then there's another big, actually I'm gonna hit the other side of the face, other drawing on the hair. I'm gonna mess it up. Okay, so let's go this way. Maybe I'm gonna draw a little bit in, a little bit closer in. All right, so let's see, comes down here. Okay, and then this one just kind of flares out. All right, so it's basically one clump. Let's see, kind of off on this one. Should pay more attention. All right, so this one clump here, it comes down to the bangs right here, right? And then this is just kind of basically straight down, and it's short, so it kind of flares out a little bit. Okay, so let's see, there's one clump here, and then the rest is that. Okay, I know it's hard to see, but let's just go ahead and shade it. So let's see, there's a line right here, right? Because the hair's folding over here. All right, so here, I'm gonna start on this big clump right here. It's a little bit, maybe I should have drawn it a little bit smaller. So right here is dark, right? Because again, if you look at the lighting, it looks like there's one from the top and then one from this side. So there's a highlight right here, and that highlight is actually very important to get because it really shows off the direction of the hair. So if I make this part dark right here, it's gonna give it a nice highlight. This is almost like you know, when you see the anime drawings, you know, that's how they do it. They just leave a highlight, and that's how it is. You know, that's how hair are. All right, so here coming down. Let's tighten it up a little bit. That's a little too messy. Okay, so we're gonna leave that highlight, and then as it's coming down, all right, let's say this is dark, so and it kind of fades out. It's a little bit lighter right here. Okay, let's see. So I'm gonna keep going down, and then now it's like now we gotta look, you know, what's happening in here, right? Because it's just one big area. And if you look at it, let's see, there's a dark area right here, and it kind of comes over like this, because there's some strands coming down. See, there's this strand here, and then this becomes darker because there's another strand here, and then this becomes darker right here, and this comes to the face. Okay, so even with something like this, we still have to kind of see what's going on, right? Looks like there's a big strand coming down here. It kind of curves over a little bit like that, and then this all flares out. So we still have to get those, right? You see that in the reference, right? So this is darker. So these are like the minor strands, right? These are the, I don't know. Yeah, you get, this would be the major flow, and this would be the minor flow, I guess. It's almost like muscles. All right, so now we have to paint in those, well, shade in those smaller strands by darkening the areas around it. That way we can leave, you know, we can try to leave the white for some of the highlights. So here's messy coming to the face, Okay, and then these strands right here, even these strands, there's a little bit of, you know, shading to it because it's coming up and down, right? Like this comes up and then this dips down. That's why it's a little bit darker. So there's, you know, a little bit of curl to the hair, and that's how you have to shade it. As it sinks in, you know, it's gonna be a little bit darker. Okay. So let's see, let's keep going. The back right here is pretty dark, and it's darker also because, you know, it's you see the contrast from the hair to the white background, so that's why it's a little bit darker. So right here I'm just kind of flickering. Okay, and then hair down here. So even here now you can see these little strands, right? You see these little strands that I've drawn. And I know it's kind of dark. I mean, kind of white, and really I should kind of make it a little bit darker because, you know, it's not coming out that much, right? So now we can darken up this area here. So now we have these. Well, let's keep going back up. Again, it's darker. Now we're starting to feel this hair right here, right? Okay. So this is kind of like the first stage. Well, let's say this, I'll call this the second stage, since the first stage was really just blocking in. All right, so now for the bangs. It's a little bit messier. So try to keep it a little bit rough, like don't draw it too cleanly because it isn't. There's a lot of little things going on, so I'm just trying to fake it along the way by giving it some variation. All right, so right here it tucks in. So this is darker, so I'm gonna flick this way. Right, this tucks in here because there's a highlight right around here. Okay, and then here is part. This part's dark as this thing folds over. I'm turning my hand so I can get a nice arc on it. Okay, so this puffs up. So this is darker down here. Okay, and then this flares out. So again, not much detail in here, at least not yet. I'm just really trying to get this big clump right here, right? Get this big clump first. And now this face comes down, and then you got a smiley face. Should I just draw that? Yeah, okay, let's do something like that. And then the hair behind, this part you can actually shade it a little bit, because it is going to be pretty dark. So I'm going to shade it in another direction. It's actually okay. Because it's difficult to go like this right along the edge. So we can actually make this a little bit dark, just kind of shade it like that. And then we can flick it out, now that we have that edge outlined. But again, it's a very gradual change, right? It's not like a hard line and then hair. It's more like it's hair, that's why you see this outline. So this is kind of important, because if you have a hard line there, then it's just, you gotta end up flattening out the drawing. Okay, so this kind of stuff, yeah, we can put later on if we wanted to. I don't want to. Those are like small little details. All right, so now we can start feeling this hair. I know it's not accurate to the reference, but it's just the flow, as long as we get the flow. Okay, now we can start darkening things up. Now I'm turning my edge, pencil edge a little bit. And the hair do cast shadow onto the face, and the shadows are generally very dark, so they're kind of in here. So even if I just kind of push in real hard like this, might be okay. It actually brings out the hair. So I'm going to make a couple of darker, these are smaller strands. And let's go back on this side, since it's easier for me to draw. Alright, so now I can make it darker. Let's say I'm going to go back in here and really make it dark. So I'm sticking with the 4B, just because I can get a little bit more lines out of this. If I use a 6B, it'll be nice and dark, but I won't be able to get these small lines. And normally I would actually prefer not getting all these small lines, but because I kind of want to show you, the flow, it is kind of nice to have these lines. So now I'm pushing it to the next level. Okay, and then I'm gonna darken these up a little bit because it's really not that white, but I kind of did it to. It's a little bit more contrasty, so it's easier to see. And sometimes with hair, you do kind of want to exaggerate it a little bit. Because if it's really dark hair, then a lot of it's just black and it's kind of boring. Alright. My throat don't give out. I tend to get allergies. Alright, let's see how's that looking. I'm looking at the camera. Okay, so it's getting there. See, just by adding, like right here, I know it's gonna be darker, so let's make it really dark. Let's punch it through to the next level. So you know, at this stage is, you know, a lot of hard work has already been done, right? I mean, it kind of went through, you know, all the nitty-gritty of defining the, you know, the flow and stuff, and now you just kind of like, you know, this is a stage where it actually start looking good, and it's a little bit more rewarding, you know, than the beginning. Okay, so this is dark. Yeah, this is regular print paper, so this part is getting it's probably gonna rip the, the paper out if I keep pushing on with this 4B. Okay, so same thing here, you know, now I can add in, turning my pencil, adding in just a couple of strands. I mean, I'll try to follow the reference as much as I can, but you know, at this point it's not necessary. Just kind of go back and look at it, you know, where the major stuff is happening, you know, maybe some smaller details you miss, and you know, what you want to put back in, then you can just go in and just hit it like this, you know. But nothing too drastic at this point. So again, if you're drawing bigger, it's gonna be more difficult. So try to draw like, you know, at this size first. That's to start, because seriously, if you do this like, say, twice as big as like this, it's a lot of work of doing this, and it's not a lot of fun. And this is what I would consider like a medium size. I think if I drew it smaller, it'll be a lot quicker. Just like this one's a little smaller, and that one went a lot quicker, right? All right, so I'm not gonna shade in the face here anymore. So I think you got the idea, right? So basically, straight hair, major flow, identify the area, see where the highlights are, find the little strand, and then just kind of shade it in the same direction of the hair. Okay, and you can always start lighter if you're not sure, but that's just how it goes. And as long as you have, see, now I'm seeing all these little variation in the shade, and it's really gonna bring out the hair. So you just gotta do it in steps. All right, so I hope you enjoy this tutorial. It is very useful. Hair, it is a pain in the butt to draw, but you know, unfortunately it's something that you have to do if you're gonna do a portrait, but it could look very nice, you know. And this is, if you can simplify it, great. You know, if you can't, you know, you can still do something like this, and it's not too bad, right? It wasn't that long. It's not like going to the dentist. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, or share my video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, because I got a lot more stuff coming. All right, so I'll see you next time.